Early in the morning, when the sun had not yet even begun to rise, a motorist driving along a rural road in Burnett County, Texas, spotted something strange up ahead. It was a massive, blinding source of light. Of course, in the darkness that still clung to the countryside. Such brilliance was impossible to overlook. As he drew closer, the driver realized in an instant. The light was coming from a car, engulfed in flames, lying in a ditch off the side of the road. Without hesitation, the witness dialed 911. When police and firefighters arrived at the scene of the crash, many were struck by how ferociously the vehicle had burned. By the time the flames were extinguished, almost nothing remained but the frame. The tires had been consumed, and the aluminum alloy wheels had melted into shapeless puddles of metal. The fire damage was so extensive that it was impossible even to tell what color the car had once been, but if the state of the vehicle was troubling, what lay inside was nothing short of horrifying. There, in the wreckage, they found a human body. Or rather, what was left of one. The blaze had raged with such intensity that every characteristic that might have allowed for identification had been erased. The remains weighed barely 6 kilograms. Yet amidst the ashes, investigators discovered something else, something that would prove invaluable to the case. The remnants of a pair of shoes with metal toe taps, a silver chain, and a metal pin. A meticulous examination of the vehicle revealed it to be a 1999 Chevrolet Cavalier registered to a young married couple, 20-year-old Molly and 24-year-old Clay Daniels. The police immediately went to the couple's home, located in a small town not far from where the burned car had been found. There they found Molly. Visibly distraught, she told them her husband Clay had disappeared. The previous evening, she explained, he had driven to his mother's house and never returned. He knew she would need the car in the morning to get to work. It was their routine. While Molly was at work, Clay stayed home with their children, a 1-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. That he hadn't come home when he was supposed to could only mean one thing. Something terrible had happened. All of this led investigators to believe that the remains found in the burnt-out car belonged to Clay Daniels. The body was sent to the lab for analysis. Experts concluded it was likely male. Molly was shown the items recovered from the vehicle, the silver chain and the pin. She identified them as her husband's. The chain alone might have been circumstantial, but the pin was definitive. Clay was a mechanic by trade, often tinkering with mopeds and motorcycles, and an ardent fan of Harley-Davidson. He always wore that pin on his baseball cap. The identity of the deceased was established. It was Clay Daniels. The working theory: he had fallen asleep at the wheel, veered into the ditch, and the car caught fire. A tragic accident. A funeral was held. Closure, it seemed, had been granted. But then the whispers began, speaking with friends of the young widow. Police began picking up strange signals. Naturally, everyone wanted Molly to heal and move on, but the speed with which she did so caught everyone off guard. Rumors swirled. Barely a month after her husband's funeral, Molly had a new man. Neighbors reported seeing a dark-haired stranger at her house. Co-workers mentioned that the same man occasionally picked her up from work. When asked, Molly either denied his existence or dismissed him as just a friend, but the babysitter, Gina, knew more. Molly's 4-year-old son often chatted happily about his mother's new friend, Jake, how much fun they had together. One day, when Molly's car wouldn't start, a man walked out of the house in nothing but shorts and fixed it. For Gina, the truth was undeniable. Jake was no ordinary friend. Eventually, Molly admitted to a few people that she was, in fact, seeing someone, a man named Jacob Gregg. But she was evasive about when they had met. And so the question arose, unspoken at first, then louder. Had this relationship begun before her husband's death? Suspicion deepened when another detail came to light. Not long before Clay's death, Molly had taken out a life insurance policy, with herself as the sole beneficiary. Upon her husband's passing, she stood to receive $110,000, but the true shock was Yet to come. In November 2004, 5 months after the body was discovered, the DNA results came back. They revealed what no one had anticipated. The remains found in the burned car did not belong to Clay Daniels. The man already laid to rest, already mourned, already buried. It was an unthinkable twist. Questions multiplied in the chaos. Where was Clay? And if that wasn't him in the car, whose body was it? Determined to untangle the mystery, police placed Molly under surveillance. On December 3rd, they followed her and her new boyfriend, Jacob Gregg, to a restaurant. The moment the officers laid eyes on the couple, everything clicked into place. Despite the now dark hair, despite the glasses, they recognized him. Jacob Gregg was Clay Daniels. That same day, the pair was arrested. Yes, Clay Daniels and Jacob Gregg were one and the same. At first, Clay refused to speak to investigators. But in jail, he grew talkative with a cellmate, revealing much of what the police needed to know. Realizing the game was up, he eventually cooperated. His confession was damning. The entire scheme, the fake death, the burning car, the stolen corpse, had been born of desperation. Clay was facing charges for rape. If convicted under Article 30, he would be added to the sex offender registry. It would have destroyed him. He would have been forced to disclose his status to every future employer, effectively blacklisting him from decent work. He would be prohibited from living within 1,000 feet of schools, daycare centers, parks, hospitals. Worse still, it could have given Child Protective Services grounds to take his and Molly's children away. After the funeral, Clay never truly left. He simply changed his name, dyed his hair, put on glasses, and hid in plain sight inside his own home. When he had to go out, he became Jacob. He had even obtained false identification to complete the transformation. What is perhaps most chilling of all is what they did to their children. The toddler likely understood little. But how do you convince a 4-year-old boy that his father is dead, and then ask him to accept a stranger named Jake as your new boyfriend? What did they tell him? What confusion, what grief was buried under that child's cheerful chatter about his mother's friend? Molly claimed ignorance. She insisted she had no part in planning the hoax, that she only learned Clay was alive after the funeral was over. But her computer told a different story. Forensic analysis revealed spyware that had recorded her online activity, including search histories for phrases like how to fake a death, melting point of human bones, how long does it take for a body to decompose. Moreover, evidence showed the insurance payout had been received, and during a search of the home, investigators found a bottle of accelerant, the very same type used to torch the car. The lies collapsed. Both confessed. In 2005, the verdicts came down. Molly was convicted of arson, abuse of a corpse, and insurance fraud. She received a substantial prison sentence. Clay faced the same charges, but his 10-year probation for rape was revoked and converted into a custodial sentence. He was ultimately sentenced to 30 years behind bars. To this day, Clay Daniels remains in prison. All for a secret. All to escape a truth that would have followed him forever. In the end, he orchestrated his own death, only to bury himself alive.